What's good? Good evening, everybody. Oh, excuse me. Tired today. I was just saying to Jamari, I'm very tired today. I don't know why.
I
I
don't
don't
know
know
what
what
he's
happened,
talking about.
but I'm very, very tired. Welcome to another episode of a Stoked Podcast. I am, as always, actually, this man to the right of me.
Sure,
Whatever.
go
I
with
do
that.
this every week.
I'm going with that.
Educator, writer Jamari Stokes, my cousin. Yes, everybody, he is my cousin. I did not search out somebody who had the last name Stokes to fit the theme.
I
He
answer
is my
credit.
brother's, my dad's brother's son. Okay, just let me make sure everybody knows that. And I am writer, artist, entrepreneur, father, husband, Javon Stokes. Hi. Welcome to another episode of a Stoke podcast. Our guest is not here yet, but from my understanding, he's a busy man. He's going to jump on. I'm not worried at all. And if not, he'll definitely let me know. Um, what I will say is welcome. And very quickly, we have to acknowledge that this has been a really interesting week for me. Uh, Tuesday, we had the 50th episode of Top 5 Live. So I'll give the group over there an applause because, I mean, 50 episodes all over almost a year. And we still have not run out of lists that we can do. I promise you, there are so many lists that we actually like throw out and never use. We'll be like, hey, let's do this, and But Tuesday was a milestone for top five, but today is a milestone for us because this is our 25th episode. I'm kind of shocked we made it this far because I'm surprised I didn't pass out from exhaustion from all the work that goes into doing two podcasts,
This
two
is
comics, all
this
kinds
is
of
also a
crazy.
weird day to do a podcast. I think.
What, Thursdays?
I kind of think it's a weird day. I'll just be honest with you.
Well, there's a reason for it. My wife knows the reason, and it's a scheduling thing. I think I originally wanted like Wednesday, but I wouldn't be able to do them both back to back like that. I needed the day in between on top of, you know, uh, allowing, because then my wife would have
Nobody
to.
cares what you want.
Nobody does. That's true. You're absolutely right. Nobody cares. So moving forward, like I said, this is the 25th episode. We've made it this far. I'm very proud of this show and what we have accomplished. Oh, Jamari on time for this week, but not for me. I'll be damn. That must be Kevin. Is that Kevin Chapman? Kevin, Jamari, you ain't the only one Jamari has been late for. So yeah, don't take it personal.
Where's this slander coming from?
There's always slander because you're late all the time. What's up, Kevin? What's up, Kevin? For those that didn't watch last week's show, go watch it after this show. All right, after you watch tonight, go watch it. But yes, 25 episodes. It's been a lot of work. Even in the beginning, it was a lot more work because I was doing like those damn commercials with the edited footage, and I couldn't do that anymore. But we've made it this far. Every show averages about 25 to 30 viewers on YouTube. So, I mean, that's what'd you say? Who are you people? Real talk. Somebody who ended up buying my books reached out to me and said, I found you on YouTube. That's all they said. They found the show on YouTube and they enjoy the show. And they decided to like support all my books. So, hey man, people find us, people watch. And to the people that have watched religiously, I appreciate you. We appreciate everything. Every time you sit down to watch us, like I appreciate it. Trust me.
It is absolutely awesome, and we're appreciative. I am humbled because you find entertainment in us or something. You find some value in what we're doing. So
I don't know.
Wow, thank you.
I'm still trying to figure out how y'all watch me twice a week. There's some of y'all that watch me twice a week. My wife don't even want to talk to me twice a week. I'm joking. My wife, I love you. Thank you for your support in this show. But yeah, it's I still think the best episode we've done, and it's not because Jamari's not in the show. He was not on this show, but it was still the best when we had the round table. We will do another round table.
Yeah, I was wondering when that was going to happen again. I'm
Listen,
on,
man, we get a lot of guests that are coming that want to come on the show, want to talk about their stuff, and there's only one individual doing the scheduling, so it took a lot of scheduling for the round table. Like, I don't know if you do this, but it took a lot of. Can you do it on this day? Can you do it on this day? Can you do it on this day? I can't do it on this day. It was a lot, man. So we will do another round table. I just want to figure out what the topic will be. Once I figure out the topic, then I will have a good idea of who to invite. But yeah, once again, thank you all. Looking forward to 25 to 125 more, even more than that. Our guest is about to jump on. Before he jumps on, of course, I'm always going to promote my comic. For those that don't know,
you going to be some places this week?
Yeah, I'm going to get to that. If you haven't picked up Heat, and if you haven't pre-ordered Strong, please go do that right now. You can do it right now. Y'all can pre-order your web. What'd you say? I
said, yeah, you can post-order it.
Yes, you can. No, you can pre-order it.
I'm just being ridiculous. Dude.
Oh, yeah, you're being annoying. Oh, yes. Before he gets on, real quick, I'm going to be at Springfield Comic-Con this Saturday. Next week, I'll be at Terrificon at Mohegan Sun in Connecticut. And then 2 weeks after that, I'll be at Fan Expo Boston. So I'm going to be putting in some miles on my car. And I'm hoping that you guys come out and see me, say hi, tell me you like the show, tell me you hated the show, tell me why you hated the show. If you did hate the show, give me some suggestions how you can make it better.
I refuse to be anywhere in public where people can find me.
I mean, you're a hermit, so.
Honestly, I'm not, but I just like to pretend I am.
I'm almost a hermit at this point.
No, I refuse to be a hermit.
I'm almost a hermit. Like, I don't go nowhere, y'all. You see me out, that's like the first time I've probably been out in like a couple months.
Mm.
And when I
run my event in March, before that comes up, then I will start plugging that and having people, hey, come by and be ridiculous. And you can not berate me, but tell me things that you like and don't like. By then we'd be at like what? How many episodes by then? At least almost.
Hopefully, I don't drop from exhaustion.
You'll be happy because you'll have sold more comics and more people will know who you are.
I'm hoping so. I'm actually thinking about doing an episode of a Stoked Podcast from Springfield Comic-Con this weekend. Thinking about
it. There's an event during the holidays where we could have an in-person one.
Oh, we could. Oh, I'm not going to be there on Thursday, but we could probably do.
We could do a short one.
We could try. We might. People ain't paying. People ain't watching over Thanksgiving weekend. Ain't nobody watching.
You don't have to post it on phone. It can be an after thing.
We might have to do that. We might do that. Jamari is talking about us being in the same area. That's all we're going to talk about. I almost said something. Until
you bring your butt back down here for Dragon Con.
Yeah, listen, man. If anybody wants to pay for my ticket and my rental and shipping fees for me to come down and the table. If you want to pay for me, listen to the people, to the organizers of Dragon Con, honest moment. If you want to give me a flight, all you gotta do is give me a flight down there. You give me a flight, I'll take care of everything else. You give me a flight, but if you want to give me a hotel, give me a hotel. We will gladly do an episode of a Stoked Podcast from Dragon Con. We'll do it. Easy peasy.
And that would be a good one because that would actually work on a Thursday.
Yeah, it's on a Thursday. We could do it. Listen, let us know. We will do it. Just need that flight, hotel. I can get the rental.
I control him in person. It would be fun. This is that. That's
Listen, as somebody learned this week, when you troll me, I have no problem blocking you. I had no problem cutting you out from my life when you get too much. Not gonna talk about. Oh, I heard him. Oh, okay. He's in the green room. Our guest is here. So, all right. Let's stop rambling and stop killing time, and let's get his glowing introduction out. I see he's prepping himself right now. So, all right. Tonight's guest is the definition of a mogul. This gentleman has done it all: comics, animation, even does music. We be here all night listening to his accomplishments. An incredibly talented inker and penciler, he's currently bringing his multiple creations to life through animation with his company, Rock Bottom Studios, including upcoming projects like JetBoy, the animated series, Brides, Shadow Club Karma, the series, and more, all currently in production across multiple platforms. Let's give a 25th episode Stoked Podcast round of applause to the impeccable Corey Davis.
What's up, people?
What's going on?
What's going on, sir?
Oh man,
how you doing? Yeah. I'm out here. I'm actually out here at New Brooklyn Tavern in Columbia, South Carolina. Okay. My bro PD Boy is opening for our buddy Blind Fury. You may know Blind Fury. He's a rapper. He used to do 106 in Park back in the day. He was one of the Freestyle Friday winners and stuff like that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. We're all South Carolina boys, and I'm out here supporting them and everything. So yeah,
okay.
I'm on the move, man.
That's all right. Hey, listen, man. From what
sounds
I
like from everything that is your entire life is on the move.
I was gonna say.
Oh man, yeah.
Welcome, man. We appreciate you jumping on, man. Once again, this is the first time I've spoken to this man verbally. I network, so we know each other from Facebook, and we've spoken on Facebook. But this is the first time. I appreciate you.
Yeah, man. Thanks for having me, man. Thanks for putting up with me for however long you need me to.
No worries. For y'all that don't know, this man right here, he doesn't even know this. Like I'm over here trying to get where he is. Like, real talk. Like every time this man drop a project, I'm like, God, dog. Now let me go back to my drawing table. Like every time, man, I see it over and over again, and I'm like, everything you just be taking on my ideas. Like I'm like, I never told this man that I wanted to do this, and he already got it, man.
I do my best, man. I'm just that's how I am. My brain never stops working.
Keep it up, man. Keep it up.
I'm sure we're going to find out as we interview you that you had to start somewhere just like Javon did. So we're interested in hearing that story.
So that's a good segue. I'm actually going to ask a little different because you got so many things. You got so many plates spinning. Normally I say, where did your love from comic books start? But I'm not going to do that. I'm doing a little different today. Mm-hmm. When did you realize you actually had a talent to be creative?
Oh, man. Well, for me, it all started. I was just back in what I call like probably my first idea of what home.
Oh, did we lose him?
Oh,
this is what happens when we do it on the move. Oh, we lost him. We lost you.
Can you?
Oh, there we go.
Yeah, we lost you.
We lost you for a second.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So, yeah, I'll just stand in the spot. But yeah, it was in Washington D.C. and I was about maybe 5-6 years old, and
now we lost him. I was sounding like a good
story.
We'll
be back in a moment.
Here he comes.
Here we go.
You lose me.
Yep. There we go.
I'll stay. I'll try to stay stationary. Like I'm
all right.
Yeah, it goes in and out. But
that's all right. Go ahead, man. We can make it work.
Yeah. So Washington D.C. And that's where I discovered like all of Hanna-Barbera's cartoons, like their entire library. Scooby-Doo, Flintstones, Jetsons, Herculoids, everything that came out of Hanna-Barbera's camp.
Wow.
Yeah, that's where my love for art came from, was because my peers at the time, we were all like maybe 5, 6 years old, and they were, like in awe of the cartoon aspect of everything. The whole point of running cartoons at that point was to get the attention of children. And my attention was a bit different, because as their attention was steered towards the characters and the merchandising and everything of all of that, my attention was steered towards how do they make these drawings move. I had an idea of, these are drawings, you can see that, but how do they make them do this amazing stuff? So that was my first introduction to art, and having some type of idea of what I wanted to do with that art. Before I knew what art was, I knew what the Herculoids was. I knew what Thundar the Barbarian was, so that was my introduction to what would be like, it was basically the doorway to the world that I live in right now. So the foundation was laid at that time of discovering the Hanna-Barbera library, and seeing the artistry behind all of their animated properties. And I learned that before I even picked up my first comic book. So that's pretty much where my artistic eye was, the attention from the artistry of all of it. So that's where it started.
So which is a greater love for you, animation or comic books?
I would say that it all goes hand in hand for me, because it's like trying to pick your favorite child. It's very hard, because like I was introduced to the cartoons first, then, I kind of, got introduced to comic books, but in between those two things, my love for hip hop came into play. And if anybody knows anything about the elements of hip hop, one of those elements is graffiti. At the time, in the 80s, my mom was, at this time, after her and my dad split, she was dating this DJ. And at this point, hip hop was still, I wouldn't say in its infancy, but still, it's just like the early 80s. So it was like 83, 84,
right.
So I learned a lot when it came to the artistry that, bridge that gap between hip hop and art, which is the element of graffiti, the importance of the Black Book. If anybody knows anything about hip hop and knows the elements of hip hop, and that graffiti is an element, then they know that the Black Book is like the Bible for a graffiti artist. When they tag something, they tag a wall, when they tag a subway, all of that is laid out in the Black Book. It's just a book full of sketches. And that's where I learned through that artist or through that DJ, the importance of what the Black Book was. It's just a hardcover black sketchbook. And that's all the Black Book was. And everything that he would want to tag or any ideas for a tag was in that book.
That's right.
And the influence of both comics and animation was present in those pieces. So it was like the best of both worlds. So that's what pretty much influenced me to go out into the world and discover more about animation and discover more about comic books and everything. First comic book I ever purchased was, I think, a reprint of The Night That Gwen Stacy Died. 86.
Yeah. Yep.
And I bought that when I was in DC visiting for the summer. I bought that from a local 7-Eleven down the street from my sister's house. And the other book that I picked up was a classic, and I didn't even realize what I had at the time. And it was the issue of The Incredible Hulk where the Hulk turned gray.
Oh,
and
Joe
it
Fix.
just come out when the Joe Fix-It Hulk was born in that issue.
Yep.
So yeah, and like those are the only two comic books I picked up at the time. But my love for it didn't really start until like '89.
Okay.
When I was introduced to the artwork of, well, to go back even further, that was the summer of Batman. You know, if anybody remembers that summer, that's when Michael Keaton Batman was released.
Yep.
So that made me go and pick up Batman comic books. But then I started picking up other books outside of Batman, like the X-Men. Now, when I picked up the X-Men, my life was changed because this is the first comic book that I picked up where the story actually grabbed me. And then I was, introduced to Mark Silvestri's work. And Mark Silvestri is a beast. But then he had a fill-in artist that came in for about 2 or 3 issues. And that artist was Jim Lee. So, yeah, so when I saw Jim Lee's artwork, that's what made me say, this is what I want to do with the rest of my life. Because
I'm not laughing. I'm not laughing. I'm smiling because you might be like the 5th or 6th guy we've had on the show that has lauded Jim Lee as like one of their influences, even as early as last week.
Right on. Yeah, because I mean, when you saw his stuff and then you compared it to everybody else who was out at the time, who was kind of using that Jack Kirby how to draw the Marvel way template.
Yeah.
And you're just kind of like, yeah, that's, this guy is on to something completely different. And there was only a handful of artists at the time that didn't follow that Jack Kirby pattern.
See,
you know what I mean?
The way you guys feel about Jim Lee is the way I feel about Todd McFarlane.
Right.
That's how I feel. Like when I saw Todd McFarlane's art, I was just like, what am I looking at right now?
Right.
Like, this is insane. So I get that.
Yeah.
I get that.
So that whole era of comics, that whole you had like all of these different artists that came out at that particular point in time that wanted to march to the beat of their own drum, and they didn't want to follow that template,
Right.
So it was one of those things where, it was something revolutionary. It was something that was changing the game. And when you're that young, you don't even realize what's going on.
Yeah.
You just know what you like. And that's where it was. Like when I saw that, I was like, this isn't like the other stuff that's floating around out here. So that's what caught my attention. And that's what made me say, hey, I want to do this for the rest of my life. And, it was through Jim Lee stuff that I, discovered Todd McFarlane stuff. And at the time he was doing the Incredible Hulk. And then, Silvestri came back and he, was doing X-Men. And Liefeld came in not long after that and did New Mutants. And, pretty much the entire Image crew started off.
Yeah, they started kicking butt.
Yeah. So, it caught my attention and just never let go. So my love for comics actually started there.
Okay.
And so the love for comics and the love for cartoons go hand in hand through hip hop. That's pretty much how I got roped into it, man. And
all right,
that's my whole thing with it. So
all right, Jamari, go before I go. Go ahead, man, Jamari.
You mentioned the Hannah. You're one of the first people I remember who brought up. We had maybe one other person that I can remember who brought up the Hanna-Barbera connection. So, what were some of the properties from that era that grabbed you the most? Because that's one that I remember growing up with as well.
I lost you for a second.
He said, which of the Hanna-Barbera properties grabbed you?
Yeah, what were some of, like, give me your kind of Mount Rushmore of your Hanna-Barbera properties, because that's one that connects with me too.
Oh man. Oh man, that's a hard one, man.
I was letting you off the hook.
Okay, so my Mount Rushmore, definitely the Herculoids. Herculoids is one.
Okay.
Thundar the Barbarian. That's
clearly
a tough
on
one.
that fantasy tip that they was on for a second.
Oh yeah. See that like because my range when it comes to Hanna-Barbera is crazy because it's not just to those things. So like Herculoids, Thundar, the Jetsons. I love the Jetsons.
Mm-hmm.
And probably, and this is a weird one, but hear me out on this. Top Cat.
Okay, I like Top Cat.
Okay.
Top Cat for me was like, it wasn't like the other cartoons in this stable.
No.
It reminded me of the brothers hanging out in the alley that we grew up with. And that's what I like about Top Cat. And that was just like, yeah, because I know out of that entire cast, I know at least one person that represents each of those cats in the alley. So yeah, so that's pretty much what my Mount Rushmore would be. It's a weird mix of cartoons, but then again, you have to realize that during that era, Hanna-Barbera, they had the animation game on lock. So they
were throwing everything up against the wall and just seeing what stuck.
Right.
Like the obscure stuff that they have, nobody like. If you try to explain that to a kid from in 2022 and be like, yeah, this was the thing, and they had a talking dune buggy that was riding around.
Speed buggy. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Right. And that's the thing about it. Like nobody really it's never gonna be another era of animation like that era of animation. Never.
And they weren't built around the things that animation is built around now, where it's this heavy duty marketing of we've got to move this product. We're trying to build this brand to take over the world. So it's cool that you, like you said, you brought that up. That was the thing that brought you in, and then now you're talking about blending in hip hop. You're blending in the graffiti element. That's probably the one I know that my knowledge is the weakness on, and you bring that up is what kind of bridged your gap also into comics and everything else. So that's a very unique combination there.
So,
and yeah.
Lose him? Did we lose him again?
I think we might be. I think he caught a spot again.
Yeah, he's all right.
Hey, he's making moves too.
On,
he's in public, man.
Yeah, he's still. Oh, we lost him.
Yeah.
Oh, there he goes.
He's moving in.
Okay, it's all right. Don't worry about it. We got you.
Okay, yeah, I'm in and out. I'll find somewhere to stay stationary for right now.
All right, man.
Yeah, I'm trying to find like a quiet place to go.
So we talked about your beginnings. We talked about your influences. You know, what artists influenced you. What cartoons influenced you. You need me to talk louder?
No, you're good. You're good.
Okay, I just want to make sure. How did you go from being a fan to okay, this is something I'm gonna make, I'm gonna make my own cartoon or make my own comic book? Like, when did that transition happen and how?
Actually it started in junior high school. Okay. I was just like, I ain't waiting. So I would make comic books and I would draw on notebook paper and I would make entire comic books and staple them together and stuff. It was just one of those things where Yeah, I had to, when the creative bug hit me, I used any like tools or anything that I had at my disposal to give it to the world. So that bug happened pretty early on, and it just like influenced me to go out and learn the business aspect of it. And I think I had my first taste of it in college, where I was in, I think my freshman or sophomore year, and I went to, trying to remember, I think it was maybe Dragon Con, and I met my buddy Kevin McFarlane. Now, Kevin had his own comic book company that he started up, and at the time, I was in college, and I met a guy that you might know as one of the creators of Bitter Root, Sanford Green.
Yep. Good guy.
That's been he was we were like tight like that in school. We went to the same school, everything.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, so he was the Mr. Miyagi to my Daniel, because he was a year or two ahead of me in school. So he knew how to maneuver through these Comic Cons and everything. So I went to my first Comic Con with him.
Okay.
So he pretty much taught me everything I knew how to network through those shows. And I think Dragon Con that year was the first one I did without him. I did by myself, and I met with Kevin McFarlane, and he gave me my first comic gig on a comic book called Evolution.
Okay.
And shout out to Kevin, because he's still a good friend.
Shout out to Sanford too, man.
Oh yeah, definitely Sanford, man. Yeah,
Actually, I met him the first time I met him was at Dragon Con.
Oh yeah, see, I met him in school. We went through school together. We still live here in Columbia, and we like me, him, and Chuck Brown. Our neighborhoods are just like.
I met him too at Dragon Con.
Right. Yeah, we all met. Oh man.
Oh, you all right?
Yeah.
Oh, we losing you again? Some dead spots. Yeah, shout out to Sanford Green, man, and Chuck Brown, man. I met them at Dragon Con, and both of them were really, really good guys. They treated me like they know me forever. Like,
Dragon Con connection is real.
Oh man, listen, I made so many connections at Dragon Con that year. That's where I met I can't pronounce his last name, Fabian Nichiza. I'm probably butchering it, but he's a writer. He was a writer for New Warriors. That's where I met him. He's got a co-creator of New Warriors. I believe he's a co-creator. I met him there. I met the creator of. You ever heard of Flaming Carrot?
I do. Yeah, I think I met. Yeah, I remember meeting that dude.
Yeah, he came. He bought my book. Like he came over and bought Heat.
I remember making my rounds. I went and talked to him. I remember talking to him.
So, yeah, like he made a point to come over and buy my book. I met Colleen Duran there. She was very nice to me. So, Comic Cons are you got to know how to like work Comic Cons. Like he's lucky he had somebody that was kind of helping him through it. My first time doing a Comic Con, which was my first book was Terrificon, and I was just like, I was almost like a fan. Like, I'll be honest with you. Like, I set up my table and then I would just literally go walk around and just say hi to everybody. I was like, hi. Like probably look like a goofball. But everybody was nice to me. I believe that was the year. Was that the year I met Rags Morales? That might be the year I met Rags.
So. I think you talked to him. You mentioned that when he was on.
Yeah, I met Rags at Terrificon. I met Christopher Priest, writer for Black Panther. He was the nicest dude on earth. Let me sit behind his table with him and talk. I met quite a few people just being nice at Dragon Con, but some of those relationships, a lot of those relationships kept going. You know what I mean? Like, it's not like they shunned their eyes away from me. But but I met Jim Shooter. I was able to have dinner with Jim Shooter. Jim Starlin was nice enough to me. I mean, Comic Cons is for real, man.
So that is something I think that would be a good thing to pull the curtain back behind a little bit more, because in the little experience I've had with you at a convention, I'm used to being a fan. I'm used to being there for just enjoyment. You are there for, I've seen you do the pitch. I've seen you making your rounds about talking with people, and you are talking to them as a creator. So your questions, your interaction is a much different thing than me, where if I'm walking around, I'm asking, I'm probably either buying product or I'm telling somebody just how great I think they are purely from a fan's perspective. And I did see a difference with you walking around with you, and you were talking with people. Your approach and the way that you dealt with people was something completely different than what I would have done if it had just been myself.
Well, I mean, usually when I go to cons and I go up to a creator that I've never met before, especially if it's somebody that I know their work and I like their work, that's like the first thing I'll tell them. I'm like, I'm a big fan. I just wanted to say hi. I'm just over there trying to hustle, just, and I'm a fan, but at the same time, like, I am networking. I want them to know that I'm a creator, so it's a little bit of give and take. And sometimes you have like the weirdest interactions. I was at Terrificon, the last time I was at Terrificon, and Donnie Cates was there, and he was like a rock star. Like, that dude had a line around the block. And I wanted to talk to him, but the line was so long, I felt like it would have been really rude for me to just like go to the front of the line and just be like, hey, and just start like having a conversation. So when he walked by, like, his booth was near my booth, and when he walked by, I literally was like, hey, Donnie, here's my book. I was just like, here's my book, and I just threw my book at him. He's like, I'll read it later. And he's like, I was like, thank you. And then that was it. Like, that was the end of our the exchange. I've never met him again. I have no idea what happened to my book. I hope he read it. It'd be nice. But yeah, like every exchange is different. Like, this is, see, Danny and I, we talk about this on Top 5, and I'm going to talk about it now because Danny can't interrupt me. We talk about this on Top 5. Danny doesn't like the big cons. He doesn't like the huge cons. He likes the small cons. And from my understanding, his perspective is A, it's less expensive, and B, he gets to spend more time with the people like that are coming up to the table.
Okay.
But my perspective is I need as many eyes as I can get on me. Oh, I go into my story and he jumps back. That's all right. We'll bring him in.
But that might be a good thing to ask
about.
Yeah.
So we were hey, welcome back.
There we go.
Now you got the mood lighting now.
Can't hear you. Hold on.
Oh, you can't hear us?
Yeah, I can hear you now. Can you hear me?
Good.
Yeah, we were just talking about Comic Cons, and
you got it on that mark.
Huh?
Yeah, when he made the mention of all the people that helped him and put their arm around him, like that was that was something that got us sparked since when you stepped away.
Right. So I was talking, and so there's this running thing I have with another creator. His name is Danny Quick. I don't know.
Oh, okay.
You know Danny Quick?
Yeah, I know the name. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Ace Blade. We do another show, Top 5 Live. So we have this running thing about which is better, the big con or the small con. And
right.
So he tends to think that he likes the small cons because they're less expensive. The expenses are lower. Plus, he gets to spend more time talking to the actual person. Right. And I'm like, I like the big cons because I get more eyes on my product. Plus, I can interact and network with people to make relationships on a larger level because you're going to get bigger stars there. So what about you? Which do you prefer?
I think they both serve a purpose, and my whole takeaway from doing a smaller con is I'm definitely getting more eyes on my product, and it's more, I can focus more on that small time crowd, because sometimes if you got a bigger crowd, you know, your stuff gets lost in the sauce. You got about 50 other people in Artist Alley, 50 to 100 plus other people doing the same thing that you're doing at this big con, and you're fighting for attention more at a bigger con. At a smaller one, it just seems like the crowd that attends these smaller ones, they can give equal attention to the people that are there. At least that's been my experience. You know, it's not like you're a small fish in a big pond at a big convention. But when you got like a smaller convention, and it also depends on who's running the show too. You know, because I've been to some small conventions where there are more wrestlers than artists. And then I've been to some small shows that get it and understand that if it's a comic book convention, it needs to focus around that element.
Right.
So they a little bit more to go on. They have other comic artists. They have big time comic artists that come out and you can rub elbows with and all of that good stuff. So if you want more attention, the smaller cons are great. If you want more of the learning experience, I think the bigger cons are built just for that, because you have like a lot more variety of like big names at these big cons that you can go and pick their brains about, you know? So it's like an education for us when we do these big cons, because we have so many of our peers there and so many of our mentors, you know, whether they signed up for it or not. I mean, your favorite artist could be there, and as soon as they put pen to paper, they become your mentor, right? So you get to sit down with them, pick their brains if they're so inclined to give you the information that you're looking for. So I always see big cons as education, smaller cons are going to be your money makers.
Really?
So to treat them both accordingly.
I would have never, I would have never thought, like, I would look at it the other way around.
Really?
Interesting. Because the way I look at it, this is like a smaller con. Like I got a smaller con this weekend in Springfield.
Right.
It's one day. Right. It's like 10 to 4. For me, I can use this as a time to fine tune pitches. Right. You know, I can. Right. You know, it'll be less people, so there's more, like you said, more eyes, because there's not so many people vying for your attention. So I can actually you know, work on my sales. Yeah. But like next week is the big con, and the big con for me is like I'm expecting to sell X amount of books. Like right. That to me is. But you're right about in a grand scheme about how like somebody becomes your mentor. Like if you get an opportunity to talk, like I was just using a story about how I met Rags Morales. Right on. Yeah, like I've told this story before, but I've got my book Heat, and I was wearing my T-shirt for Heat, and you know, I came up to him, I was like, "Hey man, I'm a big fan, yada yada yada," and he's like, "Oh okay." He's like, "Here, come here," and then he took out a piece of paper and he picked out the one issue he had with the drawing on my shirt, and he helped me fix it. And he's like, "Yeah, you need to do da 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 da," and he gave it to me. Right. And I was just like, "Well, damn, he's right." Right. That thing is, and it's sitting on my bookshelf right now. I look at it every day, and every time I make that mistake, I look up and I'm like, oh, all right. You know what I mean? So you're right. Right,
because it's like, you know, a lot of like, especially independent artists will go into a big show thinking, yeah, I'm going to make this much money, and then they realize, oh, I'm at a big show.
Yeah.
And then that sense of reality kind of hits them in the face when they leave this big show and they either like make half or don't break even, because they have to understand that there's about 100 other artists in Artist Alley that are doing the same thing that you're doing. And you look at their presentation and they may have done something that you didn't think about. And that's even a bigger part of that learning experience from going to the big cons, not just from learning from your mentors and peers. Well, not just learning from your mentors, but learning from your peers. This person set up display a certain way and it brought more traffic.
Hey, one thing I learned, one thing I learned, real talk, don't sit down.
Right.
I learned that real quick, man.
Yeah.
My knees are screaming after my first day. Like my first con, I looked around and I saw who was selling, and it was always the people that was standing up, and they were just they were like, they always, and I was like, oh damn, I gotta stand up too. Man, after that first day, dude, I got back to my hotel. I was like, I felt every bit of age that I was at the time that I'm not going to tell people.
Right. Yeah, like, and that's the thing about it. Like, I think we're programmed to stand up.
We can barely see you, man. We can barely see you.
Let me see if I can get some light going in here. Hold on,
Why you look? Yeah, like I mean, my first con. I consider myself really blessed that my first con, I actually made a profit. Like, because a lot of people that I talk to, they're like, dog, that doesn't happen often. Like your first con is usually like hard. Like you go in there and you're like, but like I was lucky enough that my first con, I have not made a profit at a con yet. Praise God, knock on wood, everything like that. But I think a lot of that has to do with the fact that, I'm always, like you said, learning from the people that are around me, and one of the things that, people always tell me to do is you got to have energy all day. If you ain't got energy all day, you better find it. So
Yep. So because that's the hardest part, man. Because those, like, if you've been doing, most people do, you'll realize that you are always on, even after the show ends. You got it. Sometimes you're meeting with people from other companies after the show ends. You're meeting with other artists. You're doing something that's still tied in to what you went to that show for, even after the doors close in the convention hall that day. You're going to have dinner with somebody from a studio. You're going to do something along those lines. And then after that, you may get dragged out with a bunch of your artist buddies to go hang out somewhere. And then you're hanging out until like 3, 4 in the morning. You got to be back at the show at 9 or something like that. You know what I'm saying?
Turn that energy right back on.
Right. So you have to be prepared for that, because you never know what's coming at these shows, especially at those bigger shows, So,
man, after my first con, dude, that first 3-day con, oh my goodness. I hadn't been tired like that in a long time, man.
Right.
Like it was no joke. It was no joke. I think that it wasn't the first. I don't think that was when my wife was pregnant. I think I did a con before that. But I remember I got back and like I had to go to work the next day, and I was just like, yo, never again. I would never work.
Right.
I would never work. That was, dude, after Dragon Con, I was done, yo.
Oh man, especially Dragon Con, because Dragon Con is always on.
Always.
Dragon Con is always on. Yeah, like there's no off switch.
Dragon Con doesn't end. It doesn't end until that Monday. Like you are, if you are, especially if you are staying down there and you are engaged with everything that's going on, you might as well forego sleep.
Right.
Are you going to Dragon Con this year?
Yes, I will be at Dragon Con this year.
Are you doing panels, or are you doing anything? Because I need to know what to watch out for.
Well, I'm trying to get everything squared away, because like some of this is like last minute stuff. I'm trying to get the table situation squared away. I know I'm not doing panels, but I'll definitely be down there, and if we get the table situation squared away, I will have some exclusive footage of some stuff that we're doing that I can't really say right now.
Yeah,
That's all right. That's
yeah.
okay.
But-
That's all right.
Fine.
Dang, I wish I was, man. I got accepted. I had a table. Like they accepted me, but I couldn't afford to travel. So I'm trying to do it.
Man,
I'm trying to do it next year, man.
right on.
If, you know,
Right.
I think if I had done my Kickstarter, if I had done my Kickstarter like a few months before,
Mhm.
I would have been able to to swing it. But
Got you.
that's a great segue because we want to talk about let's talk about Rock Bottom Studios, man.
Right on.
How did that get started?
Rock Bottom Studios came about in 2002 when I was sitting in this little one-room shack in the woods that my godmother had, and I just moved out of a place, and I was transitioning from one place to another, and I had a lot of time on my hands, so that's where like I just kind of put all of these thoughts into one basket and made it like a stable. So that's pretty much how that started. And so between work at the time and working on my own stuff, still doing conventions and everything, that's pretty much how it started. So I just kind of put my ideas into this one anthology and just gave it to the world from that point. So that's pretty much where it started.
Now, what was that anthology?
Pretty much it was just the Rock Bottom Studios anthology that had 4 different stories that I of characters that I come up with, and like that whole lineup was a lot different from the stuff you're seeing now. I mean, I don't even think any of the stuff I was doing back then I'm doing now, with the exception of maybe one property. And it just kind of evolved over the years. Like a year after that, I came up with Lion's Den Revolution, which is the first comic book that I had distributed globally. Like I came up with the concept for that, working for my godfather. He gave me an office and said, "Hey, I want you to do my newsletter. Then after that, you can do whatever you want in this place." So I used that as my base for Rock Bottom Studios, and I did came up with 150 characters for this property that I had no idea what I was going to do with. And then maybe like a year later, I joined DeviantArt and everything, and that's where, like, if you came up as an artist in that era and you joined DeviantArt, you met a lot of your friends that you're still friends with now, or you worked with in some capacity. So I joined DeviantArt, and then MySpace came along, and I used that as a tool to meet other artists. And I was doing this some graphic work for this magazine called Expose that was based out of California, I think. And it was a music magazine for like becoming musicians. And then they came to me maybe a year or so into working with them, and we have this idea, a new magazine called The Wire. And we want you to come on, be part of the staff and everything. We want you to do the artwork like you're doing now. But here's the kicker. It's all digital. Now, during that time, there was no digital magazines. This was the first one.
Okay.
They pitched it to me, and I was not on board. I was like, how does this work as a digital magazine? I was under the impression it's going to be paper, So they were just like, well, we'll sweeten the deal. I'll tell you what, we'll give you 10 pages a month. Do whatever you want with it. And I was like, word? So in case this thing, crashes and burns, can I keep my creator-owned rights to whatever I do?
Good, smart.
And
Smart.
they said, sure. Said, can I get that in writing? Yeah,
Yep.
got it in writing. Next thing you know, Lions Den Revolution became the first digital desktop format comic book for global distribution ever, before Marvel or DC did it.
There you go.
And yeah, so that was the very first one to do what it did. And that meant 5 years of job security. That meant 5 years of doing what I loved. I got the privilege of working with other independent comic book companies during that time based off of that.
Okay.
And yeah, so so what I like to call the holy trinity of Rock Bottom Studios was born there. And during that time, I created JetBoy and I created Shadow Club while working on that. JetBoy was a very interesting, because I wanted.
Was it very
I
what?
remember,
We didn't hear that.
I said JetBoy was a very interesting story, a very interesting concept to come up with. So basically, what ended up happening was I took a look at when I came into the comics game and when I picked up X-Men for the first time and heard the narrative of them being heroes that were marginalized and they were a group of heroes that had to try and survive in a world that feared and hated them. And I was like, wow, sounds very familiar. Like when it came to minorities. So, I realized at that time frame there were Black characters, but we weren't being utilized in that, capacity in the world of comics. This is a time, and this is like 1989. We have a Black Captain Marvel that led the Avengers around that time. But even during that time, at the height of her popularity, she still wasn't used at the capacity that she should have been. This is a time where we had Black Panther, we had Luke Cage, and we had all of these fantastic Black comic book characters that weren't being used. And it wasn't until Milestone came out years later that we got a taste of what an all Black comic universe would look like.
I mean to interrupt you. I just want to point out again, between Jim Lee and Milestone, like the influences for Black artists seem to be like those two.
Yep. What it felt like to not see ourselves representing at that time at the capacity that it should have been, but it wasn't.
I remember seeing them joints on the stand, dude. Like, I wish I could put in the words like how I felt.
Right.
Like I to this day I can't. Like I can't. I remember seeing, what was it? Hardware. I think Hardware was the first one.
Yeah. Hardware.
And I remember going,
Static,
what?
Blood Syndicate. Everything came out from that thing, and I felt the same way that you felt. I didn't have the words, so I just put it down on paper, and it came out as JetBoy.
Awesome.
So that was 2003, 2004.
So give us the elevator pitch for JetBoy for those that don't know.
JetBoy is the story of a 10-year-old kid who works for a top secret government agency that polices alien technology. And pretty much what the story is like a love letter to Black males that you can be a hero to. Because back when we were growing up, we didn't have that type of motivation in comics. We didn't have that type of representation. So pretty much that was the foundation of what made JetBoy what it is now. And so that's where it is. And there's so many throwbacks to other cartoons and comics that came out during that era. The continuity of the cartoons that we grew up with at that time, like Transformers, He-Man, all of that stuff, These were cartoons that were basically solely made to sell toys, but the more popular ones that ran longer actually had a storyline that you could follow. And so if you remember those storylines, that's the type of feel that I wanted to give with JetBoy, with the stories that we were telling through this particular character. And when I started doing it around 2005 as an independent thing on the side of what I was doing with Lions Den, I started posting it on everything like DeviantArt, MySpace, all that stuff. And I posted it on MySpace, and I met another artist buddy of mine who happened to be an animator. And I know that him and his buddy had their own studio over in London, and that's how I knew them, you know. And one day I put up the original JetBoy piece with them throwing up the peace sign and everything. That was the first piece that I ever drew of JetBoy, and I put it on MySpace, and my buddy came on, and he was like, "That's a very interesting piece. That's a very interesting character. Tell me more about him." Because this kind of looks like what we do for our day jobs. And so I'm just like, well, what is it that you do for your day jobs? I know you have your own studio. What's your day jobs? And he was just like, well, I don't know. Do you guys have the gorillas over there in the States? And I was just like, wait a minute. We've been friends for about 6 months. And you didn't tell me that you were working on the Gorillas music videos? He was like, yeah. So one of the head animators for the Gorillas music videos is my buddy Mike Sofo, Michael Sofo over in London. He did every music video from the very first one to I think the Plastic Beach album. And yeah, he's been my buddy ever since, and he's one of my best friends. Shout out to Mike Sofo because he's my co-director on JetBoy right now. So he's helping me with everything that the JetBoy animation is, because he wanted to do that. Like, he was the first one to say we need to give the world JetBoy as a cartoon. And every step of the way that we've tried over the years, from Nickelodeon to BET, all these pitches, Mike has been there for that. And so, yeah, so now he's still on my team. He's still on my side. And like I said, he's my co-director. He teaches everything about animation. Like, I was like, I just know how to lay it down and make it look pretty. You know how to make it move. So that's been the dynamic of our partnership. He's been a very good friend. And he's like in that stable of Nigerian animators and artists that, you know, are kicking butt right now, because that's where it's at. And I'm proud to not only have him on my team, but to have him as a friend. He's an awesome human being. And he was, like I said, he was the first one to get JetBoy kicking as animation, and his fingerprints are all over anything that has to do with JetBoy as an animation.
Man, when I saw you drop that little teaser for JetBoy,
oh yeah,
I'm not ashamed to say I was jealous as hell. I was jealous, man. I was like, oh, this man
you know what's
hard too.
You know what's
like, damn.
You know, funny. You know how that particular piece of animation came about? Was we were looking to do a package to pitch to Netflix, and my investor / agent, Mustafa Saeed, I put him. He was like one of the first people I put in the room with Mike when we decided years ago to do it as a cartoon. And when I met Mustafa was at MegaCon in Orlando. And he was looking through my portfolio, and he was like, tell me about this character. And that was JetBoy. And so we've all been working together ever since to try to get it out there. So Mustafa got us in the audience with Netflix and said, okay, we need to go big. We need to do something that's going to blow their minds. So I was like, let me call Mike up. So I called Mike up, and I got another buddy of mine, animator out of South America, and I know I'm probably butchering his first name, Fraudulin Vasquez, and we all kind of teamed up to do that short.
Right.
Now we were in a Slack meeting one day, like using Slack.
Yeah.
And Mike said that he would do the storyboards for it. So we were waiting to hear from Mike, and then Mike hops on, and we're just like, yeah. We're looking to see the storyboards, man, because we want to get this thing going so we can, get Netflix's attention. So he was just like, all right, cool. So he was like, give me about 15, 20 minutes. 15, 20 minutes, he comes back with these elaborate storyboards for the animation you just had up that you just referenced. And I was just like, man, you've been holding out on this, man. You've been holding on to these storyboards for this amount of time. He was like, no, I just did them. I was just like, wait a minute, what? He was like, yeah, I did them on the train. So I was like, are you serious? We were sitting here waiting on you to get these storyboards. You did them on a moving train from one end of London to the other. He did the storyboards for that thing on a train. And then we handed them off to Mr. Vasquez, and at the end of it, you got what you just saw. So
hey man,
so
I'm proud of you, man. I'm proud of you, and I'm happy for your success. I truly am.
Thank you.
Like I'm joking when I say I'm not. I was jealous. Like, but I was jealous in a good way, man. Like I was like, man, this dude is doing it, dude. Like, this dude is doing it, man. How was that feeling to see like that? Like, what was that feeling like?
It was a great feeling to see something that I created actually moving at the capacity that I was wondering as a child how it worked. Just to kind of go back to what we were talking about earlier, when I was a kid and never knew how that aspect of it worked. So now to have the privilege of teaming up with a crew that understands it, and they're teaching me more and more every day how it works, it feels great. And it also feels great to give these other animators and artists an opportunity to shine. Like Nika White, Jesse Centers, Mike Sofo, all of these guys that work on my team that make these things possible, and to be able to put their stuff in front of people, and give them opportunities. And it's a great feeling on so many different levels, and that's just a few of them. So yeah, to see something that you just sketched out probably when you were 8 years old, now you're seeing it take shape, and you can give it to other people at the same capacity that you got the influences. Man, it's crazy. It is crazy.
Now, before Jamari gives this question, can we get an update on JetBoy cartoon? Like, or can you not talk about that?
I can give you a little bit. Okay.
All right, give us a little bit.
I'm leaning forward. I need to hear.
All right. So we had something going at one place. Then that started to look bleak. So I called up some people on our team that had some connections to some other places. And we got something going there. And now we are partnered up with Boom Animation. Shout out to Boom. And they've got like a lot of eyes that are going to be on this thing, because we're working on something for JetBoy right now, which means that we have to put a package together to give. In the next few weeks, I'll put it this way: you're going to see a lot of JetBoy.
Okay.
And because of that, you're going to see where it ends up.
All right, I'm looking forward to it. Go ahead, Jamari.
And that's all I can give you right now.
That's a lot, man. That's a lot, dude. I appreciate it, man. I appreciate it. Go ahead, Jamari.
You throughout the this story that you've told about your journey from starting off, becoming a creative, and then now you're on the cusp of realizing your dream of seeing this character you've created. There's been a lot of talk about mentorship and collaboration, and it seems like in the community there's a lot of that going on. Particularly Javon has mentioned it, our other guests have mentioned it. What has been a big moment of mentorship that's happened to you in the community?
You mean as a mentor or having a mentor?
Well, I'd actually like to hear both. One that's happened to you, and one where you have been a mentor for someone.
Hands down, probably. And he'll probably kill me for name dropping him again tonight. But I have to give it to Sanford, because you got to understand, when we met when we were in school, I came in as this young punk kid who loved comic books and just wanted to do that. So we're in the art department at Benedict College, and it was like I was the only other artist in that stable that wanted to do comic books outside of this other kid that I kept hearing about that I hadn't met yet. And all of the professors that were there was like, you have to meet Sanford. You have to meet Sanford because he wants to do the same thing that you're doing. I was just like, okay, well, I want to meet him. So they were talking about introducing us and blah, blah, blah. And we never crossed paths for them to do so. And one day I'm sitting in an empty classroom with a stack of comic books just reading in between classes. This guy walks in. He was like, these your comics? I was like, yeah. He was like, what do you like to read? And I was just like, well, blah, blah, blah. And we started talking. And he's like, oh, by the way, I'm Sanford. I was like, oh, yeah, I've been hearing about you. I'm Corey. And like one of our teachers walked in at that time and saw us shaking hands, and she just lost it and went into the other professor's office. And she's like, oh, they're meeting, and Sanford and Corey, and they're shaking hands. She made it seem like Malcolm X just met Martin Luther King. She made it a big deal about it, and that's been my dude ever since. And he's given me the guidance that was the foundation of what I would take going forward. You know,
between the two, y'all tearing it down right now. You doing cartoons, movies, dang.
Yeah, and like I said, like there's a lot of stuff in the beginning, a lot of stuff that I took away from him, and then there's a lot of stuff that I want to kind of do on my own and kind of get a feel of it on my own without having those training wheels. But it was that spark that started it all from him as a mentor. And I appreciate his guidance and everything a lot more now than I probably did before, because I'm seeing a lot of things that he was showing me back. And as a mentor, my buddy Trey, who actually called me while we were talking a minute ago, and I couldn't answer the phone. But Trey,
it's our time, Trey.
Yeah. Trey, I think now has to be like 13, 14. One day I was sitting around at my house and I got a call from a woman who said that she got my name through the copyright registry or something like that, got my number and everything. And she was asking me about, I can't remember if it was his aunt or his mom that called initially. But they were saying that either their son or their nephew had a character called JetBoy that he created. I think that Trey had to be about 9 or 10 about this point. And they were worried that I would sue him. They were worried that I would sue him for using the JetBoy name. And I said, this kid's 10 years old. I'm not going to sue him. So we all had a talk. And we sat down, and the next thing I know, I invited him up to my house. They lived in Atlanta, and he came up, and it's been one of my buddies ever since, man. And I've been mentoring him, and I've been keeping his stuff, and we're about to animate some of his stuff soon. So get ready to see the next generation of animators come through. So I made a promise to him. I said, I'm not going to sue you, man. We're going to come to some type of agreement, and I'm going to help shape your vision of anything else that you have. And he has a whole bunch of stuff he wants to give to the world, and I was just like, I'm here for it, man. So that's my buddy,
That's beautiful.
and
That's
I,
beautiful.
I made my promise, and from there I started mentoring even more kids. So Trey was like the gateway to my mentorship with these young comic book creators and animators that I have the privilege of working alongside now. And it's a little bit hard because COVID came through and slowed down a lot of stuff I wanted to do with these kids, a lot of great stuff. But now that the world's opening back up and everything, now we can just pick up where we left off. And I got something that will benefit all of them. So I want to put together a group or a studio with all of these kids to where they can not only give their vision to the world, but have it protected. So it doesn't get snatched up by some corporate entity. This is something creator owned that could use and take with them, at the same time teaching them how those entities operate and how to protect their properties going forward the older they get. Giving them in on that type of information at this point in the game, as young as they are, will benefit them when they're of age and they can sit in front of these people on their own with their own representation outside of me and say, I know what this is and I know what that is, and I either want this or I want no parts of this. You know what I mean? So
it's funny you brought that up, because there was this article that just came out talking about, how Marvel pays their talent, the calculations that they do, when somebody creates character in the book and then they go into the movie, that they only get X amount of money, even if the movie sells, does $1 billion. And I was reading that article, and all I could think in my mind was, as much as I do want to work for Marvel and DC at some point, there's just so much like strength in, I own this. Like, I own this. Cheap plug. I own this. Nobody can take this away from me. If a movie gets made of that, I'm gonna get paid. And people would always ask. I've had the question asked to me: would I sell Heat to Marvel? Like, would I do that? And I would say, it would be silly for me not to think about that. But the contract involved would have to be so unique, because I think we as creators, and this is why I appreciate everything you just said. We as creators, especially Black, I can't deal with any. I can't speak for no other nationality, but all I can do is speak for Black people, and how often our stuff gets copied and stolen and ripped off, appropriated, like us owning our stuff is just like so imperative. So the fact that you own your stuff, Sanford and Chuck and David Walker, they own Bitter Root. They own Bitter Root, Danny and Ace Blade, Morgan and Lumberjack, all these creators that I've met. Morgan?
Yeah. I'm familiar with the works. I'm familiar with everybody that you just mentioned, because I follow. I watch a lot of stuff, man. Like, I watch a lot of
Greg and Greg Burnham and the Tuskegee Airs guys. Like all these guys, all these creative people. And I'm it's beautiful to see us creating stuff that we own, and then if it gets big, we get paid. Because I've seen so many creators, who've created some of the biggest things in the world. The guy who created Lin Wen, who created Wolverine, he didn't get like half as much money as he should have got.
Absolutely right.
I tell the story all the time, and I'll keep telling it because I think people need to hear it. Like Jim Starlin, I had dinner with Jim Starlin. This might have been my first con. This is the first con I ever did. I was at dinner with my team. Shout out to Chad. Shout out to Kenya and Dora. They were. I had two young ladies walking around wearing my t-shirts, bringing gentlemen over to my tables, which was very, very successful. By the way, I want to do it again. But we were at a table, and Jim Starlin, he had said hi to us earlier. He took a picture with the girls, and he was, I guess he was waiting for his group, and he sat down, and he was like, "Hey, can I sit down here and wait for my group?" It's like, sure. And I got Jim Starlin at my table. I'm gonna ask a million questions. So
right.
You know what I'm saying? So I had said to him, he had told me, he's like, listen, I'm gonna give you a piece of advice. You try, it's okay to work for Marvel. You go work for Marvel. You make your name with Marvel. You keep all your great stuff. You keep all your great ideas. But you work for Marvel. You make your name, and then you go do your stuff, and then you take that notoriety. You make your money. You'll be all right.
All of my peers that have worked for Marvel or DC have told me the same thing. You use that as a stepping stone, because even if Marvel came and said, "Hey, we want to buy JetBoy," I'm just like, nope, I'm not selling it. I don't care what the stipulations of the contract are. I don't care how many zeros they put in the check. Nope. I don't want it. I don't want it that way.
I give them something else.
Yeah,
I said,
exactly. I always got something on deck.
Oh yeah,
on deck for him.
Hey, I got something on deck for Marvel right now. But that contract, that contract ain't going. I'll be like, listen, I need a new contract. Don't give me the contract you give everybody else. I want that if my movie makes $1 billion.
Right.
I need to never have to work again. Like, we need to work that out. But
tell them that, I got my people that write their own contracts. They'll write something for you. Let's do that. Let's talk.
Hey, listen. Yeah. So I love hearing that you want to educate, young creators in the game, because a lot of people come into comics and forget just comics, the creative field in general. And unfortunately, there's not a lot of education on business when it comes to like artists. You know what I mean?
Right.
There's like they'll teach you how to draw, and they'll teach you to be a great artist, but very few people teach you how to be a great business person. So, I think I'm glad that you're taking it on yourself, and me personally, this show is a lot about that for me, like talking to different people who are in businesses and helping others. Like, if you watch my show, you can't have watched the last 25 episodes and not learn something about the comic book industry or any other type of industries that I've had on my show. Just protecting yourself.
Yeah, and that's the main thing. I tell them all the time, get your copyrights. I was fortunate enough, my sister works at the Library of Congress. She has for about 30 years almost. Pretty much every copyright I ever got had to go across her desk. So she was the first one to educate me on the importance of having a copyright for your stuff if you're going to create things. So she was the one that taught me about it. Now she works at the place where it happens. And everything that I've done over the past, I'd say maybe 20 years, went through the Library of Congress, and I got my copyright through them. So she was the one that taught me all of that. And, she was front and center when all of that stuff came through. So she's the one that told me about the forms. Got me the forms before the internet was a thing, and now you can go online and do it. Before that, it was a snail mail and all that stuff. So yeah, protect your property, protect your brand at all costs, and that's key to everything.
Yeah.
So yeah.
So it's coming up short, but Jamari, you got one more question, but let's keep it short because I want to hold them long. No, go ahead. Yeah. Is it a long question or
what
a short
I wanted to
question?
ask about was you are based out of Atlanta?
Columbia, South Carolina.
Oh, you're out of South Carolina.
Uh-huh.
Do you do any kind of internships for college and high school students, or since you talk about the mentorship aspect?
We're actually working on that right now. We have a project that we're trying to put together, and it's a collective of us. It's a bunch of us that's working together on this project, and we're in the middle of the beginning stages of it right now. And I'd say about this time next year, we will be having interns and everything involved, because the program that we want to do is kind of like an art gallery / incubator type of deal, and have this whole breeding ground for the next generation of artists and animators that we can do out of this one facility, and possibly expand to other cities that we have on a list, that we have connections to in their art communities. So once we kick it off here, see that it takes off, now we'll have a lane going pretty much up the East Coast throughout the Midwest, and then back down to and then possibly in the future expanding into other cities outside of that circle that we've created for ourselves. So what we want to do with that is, like I said, have these kids come in as interns. I got a lot of my buddies in the industry that said that they would come in and teach classes, from animation to comics and everything. So it'll be one of those deals where we have big names coming in from time to time and giving an education on what it is to do certain aspects of the business that they want to be a part of. So to answer your question more directly, right now, we're setting that up. About this time next year, it will be a reality.
Hey, you can add my name to that, man. If you need me, I can do virtual. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
I have no problem, man. This
Yes, we are.
keep me. Yes.
So my reason
You're definitely on the list. Yes,
Okay.
definitely.
my reason for asking, when you brought up the whole mentorship aspect, I teach high school. I deal with a lot of kids that this is their lane. These are the things they are into,
Right.
and like the things that I do at the school. That's the hub, and I want to get them in front of people that get into this kind of thing. So that's why I was curious.
Right. Got you. Yeah. So we need to talk then. Let's talk later on this week about, getting some stuff like that. I'll fill you in on what we've got going on, and let's talk more about putting something like that together, and expanding a little bit on that whole idea.
This networking, I love it. I love it. All right. So before we go, I don't want to keep you up because I know you're sweating in your car because I know it's hot. I know it's hot. I know it's hot. I ain't gonna tell you how I know. I know, but you know, as I said before, I do a show on every Tuesday called Top 5. Pick a list, come up with top 5, of our list, and we argue. But we don't argue on this show. We just listen to your list. We it's just fun. It's fun. There, it's fun, but it's it's a word. Yeah. So for here, I'm gonna ask you, and usually I come up with these top 5s during the show. So I don't even know it until I'm telling you right now.
Okay.
So what is your top 5 favorite cartoons? All time.
All time? All right. Does it have to be cartoons?
In no order. In no particular order.
Are we talking series or movies?
Let's go series.
Series. Okay. Number 5. Speed Racer.
Favorite, not best.
Yeah, favorite. Favorite of all time. Number 5 for me is Speed Racer.
Okay.
Number 4, He-Man.
Okay.
Number 3 will have to be Thundercats. Number 2, probably be Transformers. And my number 1 favorite cartoon series of all time and this is like hands down above everything else. Voltron.
Wow. Really?
Voltron.
Okay. All right,
No,
go ahead, Jamari. Go ahead,
Go for
Jamari.
it.
This is your domain, so I'm gonna let you
This
ride.
is a little bit more my domain. So these are in no particular order, but first one I'm going to list is Batman the Animated Series, because DC does not get its hold in the animated lane if they don't have Batman the Animated Series. Transformers, because that was one of the first shows I remember that had a continuing storyline that I cared about it, and it's just that point in history. Gargoyles, for having some of the best character development you ever. Xanatos alone is worth the price of admission.
Right.
Robotech, much like you, Voltron, Robotech was my entry, and that was something. So nothing was like Robotech as a kid.
Right.
And I'm gonna throw one out, which was technically a failed show, but deserves better. The Pirates of Darkwater.
Of course.
love the Pirates of Darkwater.
I love the Pirates of Darkwater.
Pirates of Darkwater.
I was so mad that never came
If there
back.
is something that deserves a reboot and a second chance, because go back and there's only about 10 episodes, and it's essentially introducing the series. But those 10 episodes introduce you to this world. I'll challenge you to find something as rich on any front.
I was buying the toys and everything. I had all that, man.
It did not, because it was too expensive a show at the time, and it did not sell the way they wanted to in terms of the toy.
To me, that's a trilogy. Like, that's easy money trilogy right there. I don't know how somebody hasn't said.
Go back, go, and I'll throw that one, and I'll throw SWAT Cats, 2 shows that deserve so much better than what they got.
Wait, did you do 5 already?
That's 5. I just threw it out there just as I kind of put that on the same level of that show was so in depth. Like, you could probably do a live action version of that. Yeah, and it would be fire.
Well, they're bringing it back. They're doing a reboot. They're bringing it back from what I saw.
Which one?
SWAT Cats.
SWAT Cats. Like something.
I've heard about a SWAT Cats one. I was like, but I want somebody to do a bring back Pirates of Darkwater. Yeah, tell that story. And that, because that could have been 4 or 5 seasons of great. That's to me, that should have been on the level of Avatar: The Last Airbender.
Right. And see, even with my top 5, I couldn't even really put my real number 1 in there, because to me it wasn't fair. Dragon Ball Z. Yeah. See how you reacted to it? I couldn't put that in. I couldn't put that in that list with all those other legends, because of the reason behind me putting those cartoons on the top 5 that I did, because these were the ones that influenced me to do what I do now.
Exactly.
Dragon Ball came as a guilty pleasure much later.
Okay.
You know what I mean? So, but that in college or whatever, and it had that feel of all that stuff that I named, but it wasn't that. You know what I mean? It was close but no star. So
let me do my 5. Let me get you. Let me go. All right. So since it's my show, I'm going to do honorable mentions. I'm going to do 2 honorable mentions.
Okay.
Because I gotta shout out to these 2 shows. One is Boondocks,
right? Okay.
And the other is Invader Zim.
Definitely.
I got to shout out those 2. I had to shout them out,
right?
Especially because one of the dudes went to the guy who did Invader Zim, I believe, went to SCAD, which is where I went.
Right.
Okay. Top 5, no particular order. Transformers.
Okay.
Because it's Transformers. I mean, The Simpsons. The first 8 or 9 seasons of The Simpsons is almost untouchable.
Right.
that might be some of the funniest episodes of any TV show. Like literally every season, especially every season, Conan O'Brien was writing for it.
Right.
Conan O'Brien was killing it.
Yeah, Conan's funny. Conan's always been funny.
All right, number 3, Batman the animated series, for obvious reasons. It's Batman.
Go.
Number 2, X-Men. X-Men. The theme alone. The theme alone.
Right.
The fact that like they were able to capture the spirit of the X-Men. Like they did what the movies still haven't done. Like they actually made an X-Men. It's a team. Like it wasn't just a Wolverine show, you know?
Right.
And then number 1, which in all honest might be my favorite cartoon of all time. I still watch it. I rewatch it all the time. It helps me when I'm like in a storytelling slump. It helps me when I'm trying to figure out how to pace a page or whatever. Justice League, man.
Yeah.
Justice League. There ain't many bad episodes of Justice League.
You're absolutely right.
Like Dwayne McDuffie put his whole foot in that show.
Yep.
Much respect to Dwayne. Rest in peace.
Right.
But yeah, he put his whole foot in that show. So those are my top 5.
Where do you put Batman Beyond?
Out of the top 5.
Just like
I mean, I like Batman Beyond. I do like it. Like I don't know. You know what my own issue with Batman Beyond is, and then I'll say we'll end on this. It's probably gonna start an argument, but I'm gonna try not to. I feel like the idea for Batman Beyond was heavily not stolen. I'm not gonna imply anybody stole it. But it was very heavily influenced by Spider-Man 2099.
I knew this was coming.
Right. Yep.
Because tell me if I'm wrong though. Like, look at everything about Batman Beyond. The future that they're showing is like, if you read Rick Leonardi's book and how he designed the future, it's almost like scary. Like the design of the costume is very like Spider-Man 2099 with the wings and how he glides. He's got claws. He's Irish. He's Irish. Terry McGinnis. Miguel O'Hara. Like, honestly, like the first time I watched the show, I'm sitting here going, well, I started picking up my books like
something about Batman Beyond always felt very Spider-Man-ish to me.
It was it was Batman and Spider-Man. That's really what it was.
Right. That's absolutely right. I didn't even think about that until you just brought it up.
Oh, I saw that from Jump Street. I was like, okay, so they're just doing the Spider-Man, but with Batman. Yeah. Okay. All right. It's not that I don't like Batman. It's not that I don't like Batman Beyond because I love this. I just watched it a few months ago. It's just for me. Right. It's like every time I watch it, I'm just like, man, this is Spider-Man 2099. Like, over it. All right, man. So we gonna let you go so you can get some air. We appreciate you being on the show and
very much appreciate your time.
Thank you.
We are always rooting for you. We always going to share when you do big things. I mean, you do big things on a daily basis. And understand, I'm coming for you. Like, I just want you to know that Rock Bottom Studios, all right, y'all big right now. Y'all big. You know, but Visually Stoked Media is coming for you, all right? So you better step your game up. No, I'm just playing. We appreciate you, man. I listen, man. I look forward to doing something with you at some point.
Definitely.
If you need a cover, hit me up. I got you. I'll get to it eventually. I'm a very slow artist. I let you know I'm a slow artist, and I work traditionally. I don't work digitally. Everybody don't know. Yeah, same here. I still ain't there yet, man. I still draw on pencil and paper.
Yeah, I'm old school, man. I do that too, man.
Yeah, so but we definitely gonna get something. We gonna work something out, and you're always welcome on the show. Next time you have a big project and you need time to promote, holla at me. We could definitely do this because we definitely enjoyed it. If you get anybody watching, you want more information on Rock Bottom Studios, that ticker tape down there has been going for a while. So if you ain't been paying attention, I don't know what to tell you. But if you cannot, if you are not able to see, it is ROCBOTTOMSTOUDIOS.com. Rock Bottom Studios. No K.
Yes.
But yeah, you can see great artwork. You can see his projects. And as you said, are you going to be anywhere coming soon? I know you say you're going to be at Dragon Con, but anywhere soon, anywhere else you want to shout out?
Yeah. I'll be at Cartoon Crossroads in October. Dragon Con, of course, in September. Soda City Comic Con in August. We got a couple of specialty shows. Doing something to promote Shadow Club here in Columbia, South Carolina. Around Halloween time, I'll give more information on that on the site. And closer to Halloween, something else I'm doing with one of the very talented musicians that does music for some of my Shadow Club stuff. My Brides project in particular, in which we're going to be doing something in DC around that time. I'll let you know more about that on the site as well. The new JetBoy comic is dropping November 21st. That is my birthday. We're doing a big thing down here in Columbia for it, where we're going to have like clown burger food truck from the Jet. It's like their version of McDonald's, and we're doing like a big thing for it in Columbia that weekend before the 21st. So you'll be able to get it at first, and everywhere else you'll be able to get it on November 21st. So you'll be able to get it on the website. So yeah, that's what
we got. Are you doing Baltimore Comic Con?
Oh man, you know what? I've been planning on doing Baltimore for years now. Got to get the date.
I think I can tell you the date. I can tell you right now before I let you go. Because I'm trying to do it. It is October 28th, 29th, and 30th.
That might be Cartoon Crossroads in Ohio.
Okay.
But if not, then I'm going to be in DC around that time anyway.
Okay.
So I may be able to make that work.
All right. Well, hopefully if I'm there, we'll definitely link up, man. But once again, we appreciate having you. Thank everybody who watched. Please continue to watch for more creative talk with creative people.
Hold on, I need y'all before we take off. Yo, come over to before we take off.
We got we got Cameo.
We got Cameo. That's my man King.
Peace, my lord, with the biz is.
Hey, what's going on, man? What's going on?
Maintain it, brothers. Y'all good?
Hey, we great, man. Thanks for showing your face on my show.
Yeah, give thanks, my lord. Give thanks.
He's doing some of the music for JetBoy.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, so
all right.
So yeah, all right. He just pulled up, man. So I'm gonna run in and talk to these cats, man. Shout out to my man P Boy. Shout out to Black Fury. They're performing right now. PD Boy did the original theme for JetBoy. He's got JetBoy tattooed on his arm thing. That's where the whole that's where the dedication lies. But
all right. Well, thank you, man. Enjoy the rest of your night, brother. Appreciate you.
All right, you guys.
Everybody else next. Thank you so much, man.
Yeah, thank you.
All right. Next week we're gonna have Trevor Ford, entrepreneur. He's gonna come in. It's gonna be interesting. Him and I always have very, very animated talks. So I'm pretty sure y'all gonna like that one. But y'all have a great evening. We love you. Thank you for stopping by again.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. Looking forward to doing it.